the age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me as always is...
Kyle. I had to wait a long time for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to change it up week by week, but welcome back, everyone. I know last week there was no show because you were at WonderCon, and that's what we'll be discussing. So, I mean, let's get right to it. Let's just get right to it. Screw it.
Right to it.
How was WonderCon? What did you pick up? What did you experience? Did you build those experiences, by the way? Let's dive in. So how was WonderCon, Kyle?
It was so much fun, as always, because WonderCon is like my home type convention that I always go to. It's the one I've been to the most.
Yeah.
It's the one I've had the most experiences at, and it was so much fun. This particular one was a lot better than years previously because, ever since COVID happened, it's been on the downhill, and there really hasn't been many really good stuff or big names or anything that's been there. This year felt like the first year where it's actually starting to come back, and it did reflect that, where there was more people. I did notice more people out on the floor. More people were buying stuff, and some people getting 5-finger discounts. We'll talk about that.
Damn.
But it was a lot of fun. Two of the there were some really big names there. Two of the really big names that were there were, of course, Jim Lee, who was hot off of the new Hush 2 that just came out literally a couple days before. And then, of course, Todd McFarlane, which was so cool to see. His line was, of course, all the way around the block and everything like that.
Of course.
But it was so cool. I went to his panels. He talked about, the industry, his, how he first started, what got him into comic books. And then he had a panel with Jim Lee, and they both talked about, they're both starting, and then them coming together later down the years to start Image, and then now Image is as big as it is now.
Yeah.
But what I picked up was really cool. So first off, Todd McFarlane had an exclusive Spawn book cover that was exclusively for WonderCon, and he did a really good thing too, where all the proceeds that he made from that sell and also from his photo op went to donations for the fires that happened here in California.
Nice. Yeah.
And
nice.
He was going to double whatever was raised.
Oh, he's going to match it or
he's going to match it. He was going to match what was raised from his own pocket.
That's great.
So that was really cool. This is the book in question. They had two versions. They were both a double page spread. But the first one is just an unsigned version, which I'll show you.
Yeah, that's a great
This
That's
is
a
what it looks
great.
like
Yeah, that's great.
all
Dude. Look at
unveiled.
that. By the way, Brett Booth was the cover artist for this exclusive cover, right? If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, right?
So there was this one that was available, and it was the same book. However, it was signed by Todd McFarlane.
Ah, nice, dude.
So these were
Very nice.
limited edition as well. So there was 650 of the unsigned ones and 650 of the signed ones. And so, yeah, it was just he had them. They were available, first come, first serve, and I was able to get my hands on a couple of them, which were pretty cool, I'd have to say.
Yeah, Eric, for sure. Brett Booth is definitely, yeah, like one of the best. I think is he
I
still
mean,
drawing King Spawn? I'm not. Let me know about that because I know he was drawing a few Spawn issues if I remember correctly. But yeah, I wish he was drawing more because I would like to see more of Brett Booth stuff.
his art is really cool. I
Yeah,
have to admit, like when I
great
saw
stuff.
that cover to begin with, I'm like, ah, yeah, that's definitely something I need to pick up. Not only just because of its Todd signature as well, but just it's a cool book to begin with. Like I said, here it is, all folded out.
Yeah,
I just
that's
flipped this
rad.
one around. So anyway, that was cool. And then also speaking of Todd McFarlane, I picked up a book that I was hoping to get signed by him, but like I said, his line was super long, and I already got lucky with him once at San Diego, running into him.
Yeah, right.
It was less likely that was going to happen a second time, but yeah, you never know. But anyway, I got this book, which is one that's obviously very famous. It is Incredible Hulk 340.
Look at that.
A 8.5.
Look at that. Wow.
Would you look at that?
What a beaut.
It
As
is.
the late and great oh gosh, now I freaking lost his name.
The late and great, whoever it was.
It was the Aussie, it was the Australian crocodile hunter.
Oh, yeah, him.
Irwin. Irwin. Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin. That's it.
What a beauty. What a
What
beaut.
a beaut. So
Eric says he's still in Spawn. He did a lot of Gunslinger Spawn. That's what it was. Gunslinger Spawn.
Gunslinger Spawn. I think they just released a new issue for that, that just came out like this week. But
Nevertheless, great get. I mean, this is a
yeah.
classic cover. Deadpool versus Wolverine movie made this even more famous, so this became a higher demand. And
yeah.
So everyone, I'm sure collectors or fans of the movie just saw it, just wanted to have it because it's become iconic now.
Trying to find this book at a reasonable price at that convention was a challenge.
No way.
Yeah, literally every single person that I found, they were asking the raw. There was a few of them had them raw, not in the case, and they were asking about $100 more than what they would be in the case.
You guys already talked. We have not, Eric. We have not talked about the Superman trailer yet. We're gonna try to segue into that after Cal shares his experience at WonderCon.
And okay, so then there's another couple pictures which he'll put up there because I don't physically have the books with me because they're getting graded, and a few of them. So I mentioned, let's see, it was a couple of weeks ago. We did that Bry's Comics PAX unboxing thing where it was like a mystery box and you got to see what books you got.
Right.
And we opened one of the packs here and we opened up one live on my Instagram. And two of them ended up being David Mack drawn Ultimate Wolverine covers. And one of them was just the regular one that he had, like that was just the regular cover. And then the other one that I got that was on my Instagram channel that I opened up live was actually one out of 26 in the entire world. So
yeah,
That was pretty
Crazy.
cool to get.
Yeah.
And especially because when I looked on the WonderCon guest list, David Mack says that he was going to be there. I'm like,
Nice.
oh man, I'm going to go and get those books signed.
Right.
And then, I might be like the first ones that get, signed, because it's like, yeah, this is the first convention that he's been to since those packs have been out. So anyway, I go there. I walk up to David Mack and I say, hey, I got a couple books here that, I don't know whether or not you've seen them in person yet. And I hand them to him and he's like, oh man, you're the first one that brought them to me. That's so cool. I'll definitely sign them for you. And do you want me to put like first signed or something on it? And I'm like, yeah, that would be great. And so, yeah, he just
There it is.
go ahead and signed them. I asked him some questions about like what his process was. He's like, yeah, so originally I was going to have him just be like, it was going to cut off at the hips there, and he was just going to be bursting through the star. But I wanted to have more of Wolverine there, so I decided to add a little bit more. And he says that I was always going to do the star in the background, but it was kind of changed the way that it was going to be. But yeah, I always kind of wanted to do this. And he said that, like, I asked him, did the guy who commissioned it for you give any direction or anything like that? He says, no, he kind of left it up to me to just figure out whichever pose I wanted to do. And so, yeah, I got this one signed, and then the 25 in the world copy signed by him, which was the sketch cover variant. So
cool sketch. Very cool sketch.
It's really cool. And on top of that too, he didn't charge me for it since I was the first one to bring it to him, which was pretty cool. So those ones are being sent off to get graded right now, and I'm looking forward to getting them. And last but not least, I got a bunch of other stuff, but the ones I want to talk about.
Trust me,
for
guys.
time's sake.
This guy like went all out when he went to WonderCon.
It's not just WonderCon.
A fanboy's dream for sure.
I go all out with any convention. You don't I always say you don't go to conventions to stay on a budget. What are you talking about? You treat yourself.
That's why I stopped going to them.
Yeah, well, that's not gonna happen. Anyway, I always like to get a sketch cover done when I'm at a convention or something to that effect, either some sort of sketch by an artist or something. And so there was this guy that was really cool. I liked his artwork, and he had pretty good rates. And I basically asked him, the prompt was, what if the Mandalorian had gotten a Green Lantern ring? And I said that I like Kyle Rayner, and maybe just have him like flying through space. That would be pretty cool. And then he's like, that's it. That's all you really want. I can just kind of do whatever I want. And I'm like, yeah, that's you're the artist, so you can come up with it. And so this is what he came up with. Boom, right there.
Pretty good.
A mixture of a Mandalorian and Green Lantern. I have to say, it is amazing. I loved it. It was so cool, and it's exactly what I wanted. So he took the pose of Kyle Rayner's first appearance. So that's the pose that he was in. And he basically just meshed it with all the Mandalorian armor. I love that the cape that he has is green, like a construct. That was a nice touch.
Nice touch.
And then I love the planets and space that he drew around it, which was really cool. I just think that this is just exactly what I wanted. And when I saw that, I'm like, man, that's so cool. So
nice, dude.
I just love it when artists can just do these like weird things. And when I gave him that prompt, he's all like, oh yeah, that is a cool idea. I definitely gonna do that. And so I love doing those types of things where it's like, okay, you can go and ask them, oh, I just want Superman, or I just want Batman. It's like, okay, well, you do a ton of Batmans and Supermans, but those are going to be lost in the shuffle. How many other people are saying, I want a Mandalorian Green Lantern? It's like that one kind of sticks with you. So
absolutely.
Anyway, he was really cool. The artist's name was Carl Atlister. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I have a photo with him on the next page. Yeah, Carl Attler, I think. I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name. But yeah, he was really cool. I saw his stuff.
Uh,
He's
Eric says it just needs a little Kirby crackle under the space under the left arm. That's funny, Eric. I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at the image right now. I was like, oh, it would have been cool if he had the Kirby crackle, like somewhere in the background. That would have been pretty, the cherry on top.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's always more that you could add and stuff like that, but I'm very happy with what this turned out, and so
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
that's
Dude.
definitely gonna be a fine addition to my collection. But yeah, in terms of like otherwise overall stuff with WonderCon, there was a really interesting interaction that happened. I'll try to go through it a little quicker, but basically I was helping out my local comic shop owner because he has a booth there. I was watching over the booth helping customers, and this guy came in. He was wearing a blazer, and he had like a COVID mask on, and he had like a satchel. And so he's going through the books, and whatever. It's like normal, any other person. Pulls out a few books, and then it's about like $30 worth of books, and he's like, "Hey, what? How much payment do you take?" And I said, "Well, we do cash or PayPal." And he's like, "Okay, I'll do PayPal." And I'm like, "Cool." So puts in his PayPal, sends it off, get the notification. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're all good." And so then he's like, "All right." And so then he goes over to the next booth, which is one that we technically share with another vendor.
Yeah.
And starts going through, and he goes all the way to their end, to their like dollar bin type section, and starts going through and pulling out books. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I went and helped out another customer. Well, a few minutes go by, and then all of a sudden I see that their helper, the other shop owner's helper, like takes off. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then I start hearing things about like somebody stole something. And I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? And so then, people are saying, yeah, this guy, he stole like 5 $1 books from him. And I'm like, wait, that guy that was just here was at the dollar bin section over there. And so apparently, yeah, because the guy comes back and he's like, yeah, I'm sitting there, and this guy walks over. He's got a blazer on and a mask and a satchel. He's going through the books and steals 5 $1 books, and then just splits. And then we're all like, wait, that guy, that was the guy that was just here that paid PayPal for us, that we have his information. And so he goes and pays PayPal with us, gives us all of his information just to go right next door and steal $5 worth of books. Meanwhile, this also vendor has like right next to the dollar section, the end of his wall that has like $1,000 books right next to it.
Right.
So it's like, like, what's going on?
Imbecile to the fullest extent.
Yeah, and then
that makes no sense. You're right, because I mean, $5 books. I mean, $1 books, 5 of them. Yeah, they must have been. Maybe they were like books he was looking for years, and he finally found them, and he just ran out of money, and he just like took it.
That's what my shop owner says. Like, well, you couldn't break 100 or something like that, so he just decided,
dude, that's crazy.
I was gonna split and take them, and then unfortunately though, the other shop right the other side of us, they had a couple of copies of these exclusive Spawn books on the right up front. They had the signed one and they had the unsigned one. And I was looking, and we're watching the booth, and so I go off. When the shop owner comes and he takes over, and I go out walking the floor. I come back and I see that they're gone, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, did you sell those books?" And he's like, "Nah, man, some guy just came and left." And he's like, "I didn't even see it. It just happened so fast."
Yeah, I mean, for those who do go to conventions, it's just packed. There's just so much going on. It's hard to keep track of the people who come into your booth. And yeah, if you're not vigilant, it just takes a second. You could just look away for a second. And if there's like a partnership going on, one will go and distract you, and the other one is going to be able to like slip up and take some stuff while you're not looking.
Well,
Uh,
and the thing
that,
is that
yeah,
like
it's crazy.
yeah, it was at the LA convention last year where that booth that got the guy that got stolen the $5 books,
Yeah, yeah.
he got stolen from at the LA convention where he had uh Batman Adventures number 8 or something like that.
I know from experience that built that experience. Go on,
He
go on.
had
Sorry,
the book that was like it was the first Harley Quinn book that was like a 2 grand book. And yeah, some guy they were looking at the book. They took the book from like the high-end dollar book section,
yeah.
moved it into like the dollar section, and then from the dollar section down into their bag on the floor, and then picked up the bag and then took off.
Man, that's crazy, dude.
So
That's
yeah,
unfortunate.
that was a little unfortunate, for them. It was pretty sad. But in terms of the rest of the convention, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, Todd was there. He was talking about, you know, comic books and showing off his original art and telling great stories about like how his dad has like the first time that he worked on Amazing Spider-Man, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, son. I'm gonna get this frame." So he goes to Kmart, picks out a frame, and then starts cutting the original art to fit the frame, that $12 frame that he got. And so he's all like, "Yeah." So my dad just like kind of just threw away like $100,000 worth of
Yeah.
with every single scissor stroke.
Nice.
But
What was since you got to see the panel? I know the going to the panels is always a highlight for me because you learn a lot from creators when you attend panels. So, what was your biggest takeaway from the panel that Tom McFarlane? Was it just Tom McFarlane, or was it
it
also
was him and Jim Lee,
Jim Lee?
but mainly
Okay,
Tom McFarlane. He had a lot more stories. But the main thing that it was really interesting to hear from Tom McFarlane was that how the internet has changed so much in the industry, because like how he said how he got discovered and how he got in is so much easier when he got in versus somebody getting in now. Because where his work when he first started out, he said that my work is like, well, at that time when I first started was like a 5, and but I still got in because somebody gave me a chance and type of thing.
right,
But I didn't have to compete with many other people besides just people here in America.
right.
Versus now, you need to be at least a 7 in your artwork or something like that, because not only are you competing with people here in America, you're competing with people all around the globe.
Yeah, that's
And there's a
true.
lot more
That's
talent
true.
all around that you can pull from. So it's a lot. He says a lot more difficult for artists to break in now than it was back then, just because of the sheer number, because of the internet, and how so many people are getting more discovered because of that.
That's a good
So
point. That's a very good observation because that is true. With social media being pretty much the forefront of everyone's lives now, yeah, you can, expose your high caliber, art to the world, and you can easily get, a DM message or an email from an editor from Marvel or DC who happened to come across your artwork and hire you on the spot just because of your artwork or posts alone, which is pretty great. And yeah, another great point on Hinged. Very good point. Competing with cheaper rates too. That's
yeah,
the key. That's the maybe did Tom McFarlane mention that or no?
he didn't mention anything about the rates. He mainly just talked about like the quality of the art.
Yeah, it's always funny to me when I go to cons how they always omit that information.
Yeah.
When they go to panels. No one ever likes to talk about the financial part of making comics, and that can be pretty pricey for people who want to break in, like people like me, writers and creators who can't draw, but I have some cash that I can use to hire an artist to draw my stories. And absolutely right on Hinch. Some of the best artists that I discovered were always from either Mexico, South America, specifically Argentina and Brazil. Those two countries are producing some of the best artists right now. And yes, the price range is very doable. It's very accessible.
Mhm.
And I've been grateful that I've worked with a lot of great um, artists who went on and they actually got hired by Marvel and DC before before they discovered them. But but I think now they've gotten wiser and smarter because now that I've noticed that the prices have gone up a little bit since since then,
Yeah,
since like
they're getting wiser.
2014. Yeah, they're getting a lot wiser. They're realizing, wait a minute, you can pay me more. Well, then how about if I charge you this much now?
It's like, well, and that's what he said too. Where another, like, I guess, piece of advice that he gave was, a lot of people when they go and they want to break in to comic books or either writing or drawing. He's mainly coming at it from the artist perspective, but he says like one thing that he wanted to do that was different is like so many people always compared themselves and wanted to beat the top level person
Yeah,
at Marvel or DC. And he's all like, but then there's like, people at the bottom, of Marvel and DC artists that like draw like Weird Anatomy or Crooked Eyes or something like that. He's all like, well, hey, I can draw Weird Anatomy and Crooked Eyes. I just need to be better than that last guy, and then I'll be in.
right.
So, that's why it's like he says, don't always try to like beat the top person, in the industry. You can, start at the bottom and then work your way up.
That's true. That's good. That's a very good advice, actually. Yeah, it's part of like speaking from my own personal experience. It's great to get quality pages from an artist, but the time factor always plays a role. Like this is great that I got this great page, but damn, dude, it took you a month to get me this page, and I kind of need the pages a little faster. And I feel like I'm pretty sure that's the same deal with the professional level, right? You can be a great artist, but how fast are you to get those pages in?
Exactly. That's another point that he made too, where it's like you could be Michelangelo and be Michelangelo, but turn your stuff in like a month late, or you could be a regular guy, Joe Schmo artist, but you're on time every single month.
Yeah,
you're definitely going to get the job more than the Michelangelo.
Those are the guys who have the long career for sure. I think Mark Bagley is a prime example of that. Mark Bagley's quick, he's fast. And, say what you will about a lot of people do like Mark Bagley, but when he was, in his like starting out, a lot of people didn't really like his style because it was kind of basic, but he got stuff done, man. He was done. He was turning out the pages, dude. And that's the key is that you gotta, for artists, I always try to tell the artists I work with is pick and choose your spots. In wrestling, that's what the term is called. Pick your spots, right? I always like using the wrestling analogy because it's kind of it still fits. But in wrestling, picking your spots pretty much means like if you know how to do this cool, crazy move, do you do it for free on TV or do you do it on pay-per-view? On the big show. And the artists I work with, they go, look, man, like this scene is just two guys talking. There's no need for you to draw this
really
crazy detail, panel by panel shot because it's just two guys talking. If you want to make it interesting, maybe change the camera angle, and that way the reader can be interested in reading the dialogue scene as opposed to just keeping one shot the same. But for the big action scenes, then go all out. That's when you really want to shine is when you have the action scenes or a big moment in the story, and that's when you want to give your A game. So again, pick your spots.
That's what they do. That's what they do with movies and everything too. It's like you save all the big budget for like the big action shots, like all the explosions and everything like that. So
I think that's one of the major issues that I find with modern artists is that they don't know how to pick their spots because they don't teach you that in art school. They just teach you how to draw, but they don't teach you the whole factor of deadlines. How to I guess cheat for lack of a better word. It's how to cheat it where your quality doesn't go down as much, but you can still present it. It's still presentable enough where no one's going to notice. The reader won't notice.
Yeah. Well, that's what Tom McFarlane said too, where like when he was first starting out, when he was younger, he was trying to, send in sample pages and stuff. One of his big inspirations that he always wanted to like emulate was George Perez's art.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was like looking at George Perez's art, and like George Perez, would have crazy amounts of detail and just like background shots.
Oh, yeah. George
like,
Perez was a beast, man. He was a beast.
Paneling with all these like different gears and pipes and everything like that. And he says, I did one panel like that with George Perez's detail. And I said, F it, not doing that again. It's too much work. And he's like, he says that made me appreciate George Perez art so much more, because not only was he doing that for a team book on Marvel, but also another, he was doing it for Justice League at DC. So he was doing, Avengers and DC at the same time, or Teen Titans. I forgot what it was, but two team books.
Yeah.
With all that crazy art at the same time.
And Unhinged here says sometimes good enough is good enough, and that's absolutely true. It's all about telling the story as well. At the end of the day, it's all about telling the story. The true readers just like to consume. They don't really care too much about the quality of the panel or the page. That comes when you become a student yourself, or that happens when you pursue comics yourself, when you start to study, the paneling, sequential arts, and all that stuff. But yeah, going back to what he said about George Perez, and that's another thing too, that a lot of artists and myself included as a writer, is that some artists are just more gifted than others. And George Perez is one of those guys who it just came easy to him. It's like, yeah, I could do this, no problem. And that's rare. That's a rare talent, and not everyone can have that. And that's okay too, because you got to find your strengths and stick with that. And then maybe if you want to work on other things that you feel are not your strong points, then take the time, do that outside of what you're going to present to the public when you produce your work for comics. So that's cool, man. You got to talk to Tom McFarlane and I mean, you got to talk to him, but you got to see Tom McFarlane speak
I got to see
on those things
talk
on the panel with Jim Lee.
And,
how was Jim Lee, by the way? Did Jim Lee talk at all? Like, it sounded like he didn't say anything at all.
Oh, well, I mean, like, because I saw 2 panels with Todd. It was one panel of Todd that was just talking about his life, and then he had another panel with Jim Lee. And so
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, Present Colors.
Jim Lee, he was mainly going into just like his family and like how he got into comic books, not necessarily more advice type of situations and stuff.
Okay.
He was mainly just talking about his experiences and things. There was more stories with Todd and more advice and stuff with Todd. That's the reason why I'm focusing more on him.
I see. Okay. I mean, and plus, let's face it, Tom McFarlane is the most charismatic one. He's the most charismatic one next to Rob Liefeld when it comes to telling stories. I always love listening to Tom McFarlane tell stories. He's really well spoken.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like he was like he gets really into it, and then like he's like talking about his stories, and he's like he first lays out how he's gonna like what all he's gonna talk about, and then he gets to like this much of it, and he's like, oh man, we got like 20 minutes left. All right, let me just breeze through the rest of this stuff. Because he gets so wrapped up in other stories and stuff, and he goes in side tangents and things all the time.
It's what they call chasing rabbits, right? It was when you're trying to get to a point, but you go over here, you go over there, and some people are just like that. Not scatterbrain, but just chasing rabbits and trying to...
It just seems like he has so many stories to tell that like he could literally I'm sure he could just sit in a podcast for like 3 hours. And like I said, if he has like all of this as his life, he in one podcast would be like just like 5 minutes of it, like of his like entire career, and he'd fill that up.
Unhinged wants to know, how many times did Todd say bud? Could you even count it?
Oh man, that was man, I don't know if there'd be enough comic books in the world to count how many that would be.
So it sounds like WonderCon was a great, once again, coming back to form. People showed up, because I know last year was very abysmal. Last year it seemed like, whoa, there's hardly anyone here. not many tables. IDW's table was like barren, apparently.
And that's the thing though. None of the publishers were there.
No publishers, huh?
No publishers, not even IDW. So no IDW, no Dark Horse, no Marvel, no DC.
Wow.
You know, no who else did I miss? I guess that's the main ones.
Image? No Image?
No Image.
No Skybound either?
No Skybound.
Wow.
I know. And
That's
the thing is, like, you
crazy.
have Jim Lee here too. Like, wouldn't
Yeah.
DC want to be here? He's the president of DC, you know,
Yeah.
like
Wow. That's crazy. That's wild, dude. That's wild to me. I can't believe that even happened.
Well, and I think also Todd's like, isn't he also still the head of
Yeah, he's one of the
Image?
partners. He's one of the partners at Image. Yeah. Still
Yeah,
is.
so I mean, like, yeah, why wouldn't you? And you've got now, and plus, you know, Invincible just wrapped up. Everybody was wanting Invincible books. You could have done an exclusive Invincible book.
That's true. It could be the sign of the times, because you know, it's so expensive. I would imagine to bring all that stuff with you, set up the tables, set up the banners, the stands. So maybe they're just
money for it though.
Yeah, maybe it's not since WonderCon is really a smaller convention. Perhaps they thought it wasn't worth it.
Yeah,
like San Diego Comic-Con, for instance, is worth it, or New York
yeah.
Comic-Con, the huge big Comic-Cons. You know, those are probably the ones that they're like, yeah, we could. It's worth it because we have there's foot traffic, and there's more of a chance of us making money from the foot traffic, offering, you know, exclusives and what have you. Anything, since you're telling me the publishers weren't there, so there was no Superman talk or no Superman stand or anything like that.
No Superman, no nothing. I don't even think I saw anybody dressed as Superman.
I mean, let's face it, dude. His costume is not really like hip now anymore.
No, it's all. But to be fair, like I only saw a couple of Invincibles too, but I wasn't really like, because most of them all congregate out in the front.
Oh, right, where all the photos are taken, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I didn't really venture out there too much. So
there
was a lot of X-Men.
Speaking of Superman, did you watch the extended footage that James Gunn put out this week?
I did. I saw it. And
now, what did you think of it? Because I got a little bit of a mixed reaction to it. Now, of course, the Snyder Bros out there, they crapped on it. They called it like a B movie level of budget, and just bashing it. And I don't understand why. And I shouldn't say that. I understand why. Snyder Bros are freaking loyal to the T when it comes to Zack Snyder, and I get it, but you know, Zack Snyder's not really the greatest director, guys. Like, he's a great visual director, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But in terms of storyteller, not the best. I am always weary of corporate owned IPs because they just don't know what they have. But when James Gunn was announced that he was going to run DCEU and also write and direct the Superman movie to kickstart the new DCEU, I wasn't excited because James Gunn is a bit too cynical, in my opinion, to do something like Superman. So I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna wait for the trailer. Teaser came out. I was like, okay, that looks pretty good, but I need to watch the full trailer first to find out what the story's about. And then he came out with the extended
teaser trailer.
Yeah. And it actually got me a little bit more interested. I was like, hey, this is pretty good. I actually kind of dig this. It finally feels like we're gonna get a comic book movie of Superman, which I think is great. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. Oh.
I mean, while you're doing that, I'll give my little 2 cents first. Okay, so for me, honestly, this didn't really move the bar for me at all.
Oh, boo!
I mean,
boo!
Look, I'm not saying that I'm against this. I liked the original trailer to begin with, for the most part. Again, it's continuing off of this scene, like I said, where I didn't think, putting this as the beginning shot like it was in the teaser trailer with him all like, in the field position and everything. I like Crypto, he's cool. We
Yeah,
get more of him
you know
here.
why this worked for me, because if we're finally going to get a wholesome Superman, it looks like, you know. And I get the whole aspect of like, why is he hurt? Why is he weak? And it's like, dude, you have to remember. Hold on, let me pause this real quick. People have to remember that the movie-going audience are not comic book fans.
Yeah.
They're not comic book fans. They don't care. They don't know. They just want to watch a movie. That's it. Superman is iconic enough for the movie-going audience to know who the character is. But when it comes to like the lore that was presented to us in comic book form, they don't care or know about it. They just know about Richard Donner Superman in the 70s, the TV show of the 90s, and Zack Snyder's Superman Man of Steel. And also that atrocious turd Superman Returns that what's his name, Bryan Singer did, which was crap.
Well, what about Christopher Reeves? Like what? That's just
Richard Donner. Richard Donner's
okay.
Superman. That's why I said I should have said, I guess I should have said Christopher Reeves Superman.
Yeah.
Unhinged says I compare Superman movies to Donner over Snyder. He set the bar. Absolutely. Unhinged. Absolutely. I watched that movie again recently. It still holds up. It's a little cheesy, but it still holds up for me. And Eric Dwapple says, seeing Crypto doing what a puppy would do. Yeah, there you go. Exactly, dude. That's when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, he's moving in the right direction. This is what we need. This is what we've always needed for Superman. Like I said, the character is iconic enough where you don't need to give us the origin story anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need to give us the dark Superman. I don't care about dark Superman. I want Superman, the lighthearted, freaking hero. The hero. Like, it's okay to have heroes. You know how we always talk at work, how we say, like in wrestling, for going back to wrestling, sometimes you got to give the audience what they want. It's okay to do that from time to time, right? Sometimes, you should go. You should go a different direction, but there's an occasion where you just got to give them what they want, and that's okay too, because it means more money for the studio, and it creates a new fan base, and that's what's going to be important. Pressing colors with the thumbs down. I guess you're not a fan of pressing colors.
Well, like I said, so like, I mean, it's not like I'm against Superman being hurt. Like, again, we talked about this. I do like the Superman where it's kind of like the Justice League type Superman where he can still get hurt, but he's always like a notch like more powerful than whoever he's fighting.
Yeah.
Versus like what he was in the Zack Snyder movies where he's just like pretty much just invulnerable to everything and just completely wipes the floor with everybody.
Right.
So it's like, I do like that, Superman will always beat out the bad guy in the end, but like it will always be at least a little bit of a struggle. I did think that this was a little funny that like he lands just like 5 feet away from the Fortress of Solitude.
Well, to be fair, this is a
fair.
I was hoping I was gonna no sell it, and you call me out, you bastard. But no, to be fair, this is still a preview, so this could be cleaned up. This could be edited differently when the movie comes out.
Yeah,
just like remember the Avengers Infinity War trailer, when in the end of the trailer they showed the whole team running together.
Oh yeah,
remember that? Yeah, and that wasn't in the movie because it was a misdirect.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
And this was great too. I love that they have the Superman robots. This is great. Like, it's time to move on. It's time to just push forward, and not everything has to be slow in introducing new characters. Let's just dive right in. And this is great. I love this when I saw the clip for the first time. Eric says, I do agree that it's not the best move seeing the hero beat up at first. I'm still skeptical, but I am happy with what I've seen so far. I agree, Eric. I think the reason why James Gunn did that was because he wanted to show again the movie going audience that I'm going to try to humanize Superman so that way you could connect with him. And on top of that, I'm also going to introduce the idea that he's going to fight villains, super villains, who are going to be able to hurt him, which is also great. That's the I immediately picked up on that when I saw the trailer. That's why I kind of liked it when I first saw it. But like Eric, I was still a little skeptical. I was like, well, I mean, this is still the teaser, so I don't know completely yet what we're gonna get. But it was definitely a signal. It was a message that was sent out to the public saying, this is not going to be the indestructible Superman that you saw in Zack Snyder's movie, albeit that was still pretty cool. But, you know, in the Justice League movie, the way Zack Snyder built up Steppenwolf in that movie, you know, he was able to beat up Aquaman, no problem. Beat up Wonder Woman, no problem. He took out the Amazonians, no problem. He was, you know, that was the highlight of the movie for me, was Steppenwolf. I freaking loved Zack Snyder's Steppenwolf. I know not many people liked it. That's fine, but I dug it. I dug the design. I dug the look, and they built him up. And in the end, when Superman finally meets him, he bitch slaps him. And it was like, I was kind of hoping for a fight. I was kind of hoping for like a battle, you know, kind of a battle, not a one-sided event. I kind of wanted a 51-49 situation, but we got 100-0 situation with Superman and Steppenwolf. And it kind of ruined the moment for me, honestly, because I really wanted to see a good, cool fight. Kind of like what we saw in the Man of Steel with him and Zod. At the end, that was great. I was like, yes,
I did
finally.
like that, especially when they did incorporate, you know, even though they didn't have kryptonite, they still made Zod weak in the fact that, like, okay, he's not used to Earth's gravity and, you know, sounds and everything like that. So when he lost all his armor, that, you know, gave Superman the edge.
Yeah, exactly. And right here, Eric hit it right in the money. Not like when Steppenwolf swung his axe and soup, and it didn't. Yeah, I agree, dude. I was hoping for, like I said, a fight, like a battle where he gets hit, he gets, you know, maybe a little cut here and there, you know, but we didn't get that, and it was a little disappointing, to be honest with you, for me. Benjamin said it's a moment of vulnerability for a hero who is normally invulnerable. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Go back to Ben's point. It's like, I agree with that, but I just don't think that is the choice that you need to make right off the bat. You know, it's like we already have.
Why not, though? Why not?
It's because it's like, we already have the idea of Superman in our head. We already know who Superman is. I kind of want to just see him like that, at least right off the bat. And then we go into his vulnerability because, you know, that first interaction I want to see with Superman is him at his, you know, peak almost type of thing.
You know, that's a good point, Edwin. Sorry, I was mentioning Edwin's chat here. Like, you're right, Edwin. We got to see that in Batman versus Superman, but that's because of the kryptonite, and it didn't even last long either. So he got beat up by Batman, which again, I still like it. I still love that fight scene.
Why did you say that name?
Yeah, Martha. Why did you say that name? But when the kryptonite bullet or whatever, or the dust wore off, he went right back to his indestructible, you know, state, and it kind of ruined the flow of the fight for me again. Eric says Beat is such a turd of a movie. So Doomsday, yeah. Oh yeah, there you go, Doomsday. That's right. You were mentioning about Doomsday. I forgot about Doomsday.
Everybody forgot about Doomsday.
Yeah, but Doomsday,
because it all happened in the same movie. You all had
Right.
Batman versus Superman, Doomsday, you know, Steppenwolf.
It was a bit too much, right? It was a bit like too much going on at once. That was a case of. I mean, I still liked it because I was like, yeah, great. We're not gonna wait for the movie. Awesome. but at the same time, I understood why audiences didn't like that, because they kind of wanted the story to breathe of that movie. But I dug it. I thought it was a good choice, in my opinion, that Zack Snyder did. But I agree with Eric, though. The movie wasn't still the best. It was still whatever. It had moments. It had good moments. Now this here was the talking point.
Yeah, I heard about that.
This was the one that everyone's like, why is he screaming in pain? It's sunlight. It's supposed to heal him. And granted, yes, that's absolutely true. You know, I agree. But again, it's, for me, I take it as like, well, you know, I would imagine instant healing where your damaged, you know, organs or whatever are closing up. I would imagine that's painful.
Yeah.
In this state. And again, we don't know the context of this. We don't know the context of why he was beat up.
I took it as like, well, at least specifically with that scene, where I took it as where, well, I'm assuming he would probably just heal normally, like normally fast, if he just like maybe like flew out into space and then just kind of like
Yeah, kind of like what,
in
yeah,
it.
that's what Zack Snyder did.
Yeah, I know that's what he normally does, but like I'm assuming that maybe like this is maybe where it's like, okay, you need to get healed fast because the enemy is still right there. You got to go and get healed up right immediately. So we're gonna like focus in and like laser you with sunlight to heal you up really fast so you can get back out there, type of thing. And so I mean, I'm assuming that then yeah, that'd be kind of like you're getting directed so much energy at you that it would probably hurt.
But again, it's a creative choice. You know, we're gonna have to just let James Gunn do his thing, and let's hope that he delivers a great movie. And he has so far. He hasn't let me down so far. Even though his last Guardians of the Galaxy movie kind of was a little bit mixed. I feel like either loved it or hated it, but it still had its charm. You know, the James Gunn charm, and I'm hoping that he brings that here. Now, granted, this may be a straight up like it's going to be a launching pad for sure for other characters, and that's fine. That's fine with me because the DC EU needs to catch up. They need to catch up. They need to start off to the races, right? Sprint, no marathon. You can't do a marathon anymore. You got to catch up to Marvel. So I feel like this is the best choice that he's made, and also he wrote the script. It's not like they're making up the script as they're going. He took the time to really think about what he wants in this movie. He took the time to write the script, and I'm sure he worked it a few times. I'm sure he had other people look at it and gave him notes or thoughts. And now he's producing, I think, a solid script, in my opinion, because I think, you know, as a writer myself, when you take your time and you really put your grade A effort to it, you could have a great product at the end of the day. And given the fact that he's not a hired gun, you know, no pun intended,
included,
where the studio just hired him to direct it, he is in charge of the whole thing. So he's able to direct not just this movie, but where the direction of the whole thing is going to go. So again, I'm 50-50. 50% hopeful, 50% like, I don't know, man. Like we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. It's all hinging on this movie. If this movie bombs, it's over for Warner Brothers or Warner Media. It's over, dude. Like we're gonna see probably like you know, DC Comics being licensed out to Marvel to be produced. Who knows, man?
That would be some talk of the day right there.
Yeah.
Superman under the Marvel banner, man.
You know, it almost happened in the 80s or in the 70s, I think, at one point. According to Jim Shooter, DC was hurting bad in the 70s, and Jim Shooter was in talks with some DC executives at the time to license out like DC characters under the Marvel banner. Apparently, it was really close, but then they actually found an investor who came in and helped them get out of their financial hole.
That's crazy, though. just the what if scenarios that
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have happened.
Edwin says, nothing I've seen from this movie makes me interested in it. Gunn is a one-note filmmaker, not a fit for DC. Ooh, Edwin with the guns, with the.
I know, and he also said too that Marvel's got their own problems, and it's true that
No, you're absolutely right.
They're kind of banking on Fantastic Four, and then more so now with the Avengers Doomsday
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Secret Wars.
Absolutely. I mean, Edwin could be right too. It could be so one note that people are not going to flock to watch the movie, and that could happen too. So we'll see how that works out, but we won't know until July when it gets released. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to watch it just because I'm a Superman fan. Superman's my character. He's my guy. Everyone loves Batman, but I'm team Superman all the way forever until the day I die. So I'm still gonna watch it. I watched Man of Steel, even though I wasn't a Zack Snyder fan, I was like, why did Zack Snyder have to direct it? But I still watched it because it's Superman. I have to watch it. I'm going to watch it. It could be a Snow White flop. That only depends. Pressing colors. That only depends if the main actor starts talking out of turn like that actress did when she was promoting Snow White. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
Honestly, I haven't even really heard much from any of these cast talk about it. Like, when do they start doing? I guess they'll start doing their press tours, maybe next month or so.
May. They're gonna. I think they already started. They're gonna start. I think they're gonna rev it up close to July. So they're gonna do the little shows here and there to get the word out, and then I think once May hits, or maybe late May at Memorial Day weekend, probably after Memorial Day weekend is when it'll start.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy at San Diego because that's also the Superman comes out that Thursday of San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, so it's gonna San Diego Comic-Con is gonna be wild because they're gonna have a showing.
They're gonna have a screening there, and I'm assuming they're gonna do like the same with Deadpool Wolverine, where everybody's gonna be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hope so, because I am rooting for DC because I love DC Comics, and they're home to a lot of my favorite characters. And I've always been a DC guy, for most of my life, but sometimes they have the lull, right? And Marvel comes out with the better product, and so you kind of lean towards Marvel for a bit, but then once DC gets back into the game, you go right back to DC and start buying books.
Yeah.
So let's hope that's the case here.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's it. That's it for the discussion of Superman. I'm hoping for the best, honestly. I really do. But again, I'm still reserving until I get the full trailer where we find out what the story is going to be about. And if the story is intriguing, I'll probably get a bit more hype for it. I'm never gonna go into a movie with high expectations. I've learned my lesson in the years attending the theater. The movie theater is that never go in with high expectations. Just go in with no expectations and just consume what they give you, and let's hope it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting it to probably do good. Whether or not it's gonna be like the $1 billion movie, that's the question,
huh? Yeah, that definitely is the question. Will it reach $1 billion? And it could if the movie is like phenomenal, which it could be. We will never know. We won't know until July.
But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of DC, do you think, just real quick, that James Gunn will introduce Bruce Wayne in this movie?
I feel like he probably would be like in the background or something like that. Maybe like Wayne Enterprises building, they'll fly by it or something like that. I don't think that he'll be in it.
No, not even a cameo. Because I know I don't think he's cast a Batman for this universe. I know that Patterson is a different Batman from a different like universe or dimension, whatever. however you want to, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I don't think, like you said, I don't think they've casted him for this universe. They've already got so many people in
I
this
know,
movie.
I know, right?
It's like adding Bruce Wayne in it too. It's like,
well, at
I
least
don't
a
know if you want to
cameo,
do.
a cameo
Yeah,
of it,
cameo. Like I said, I don't know where he would fit in it. Like, I feel like you'd get more accustomed to him as Batman, and then from Batman you learn that he's Bruce Wayne, at least from like Superman's eyes.
Yeah, that's true. And also, hold on, give me a second here. Crypt Knowles, what's up, Ray? He says Superman is a symbol of hope, and what we've seen so far instills that in us. Job done. I agree. I agree. And Hinch here he's in alignment with you.
Yeah,
Too much, right?
it's too much. I mean, you've already got so many other people in it. You got Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
You get Batman in there too. It's like you basically have the Justice League already there in Superman's movie.
Eric, screw Batman, terrible character. Get him out of there. What's up, K-pop junkie? Sorry, not junkie. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
All right, well, I guess we can go on to our next installment.
Well, speaking of Batman.
Yeah, speaking of Batman.
Leading into that.
Hold on, I had it here ready, and of course I messed it up like I always do. Story of my life.
Yep.
But yeah, speaking of Batman, the latest issue of Absolute Batman, is it? Gosh, see, story of my life.
Yeah, that was just horrible.
That was terrible.
that was the worst thing. Like you literally like,
dude. Oh my gosh. I did not know that was gonna happen. Apologies to everyone.
We test these things before.
We did. And like even Eric's like, all right.
All right.
All right.
And then on the next installment of Blank with
sound
effects.
The higher of course, only the best, only the highest possible quality.
You know how much money we spend on this show alone, you know? So meanwhile, we're gonna have a paid subscription service now because we need it.
Yeah, obviously I need an assistant here. But the latest installment of Is It Worth the Pickup? Kyle, the floor is yours.
Okay, so disregarding that introduction, basically, let's see, it was a while ago. I think it was, I don't remember if it was the last time we did Is It Worth the Pickup, but we basically went through a bunch of issues of Absolute Batman. And to catch you up with Absolute Batman, if you either haven't read the series so far or, whatever, basically Absolute Batman, generalized, is DC's version of the Ultimates universe. So this is a different Batman. Not necessarily, he's not like Bruce Wayne. He's still Bruce Wayne, but it's a different origin. The characters and all his rogues gallery are still there, but they're like his friends now, and they have different, motivations. Alfred is a secret agent spy. And so basically, and Batman is a lot more brutal and a lot more muscular, and he's not rich, and he's not, Superboy, Playboy type guy. He is a like blue collar construction worker, union member type guy that knows the city layout and everything like that. And to catch you up to this issue, we're going to be going over the last two issues in this story arc. Within this story arc, the Black Mask has basically shown Gotham that, anarchy's cool. You need to do it. And Batman basically buying off Batman for like a couple $1 million. I forgot what it was. He he offered him a bunch of money, basically saying, "You can go and be Batman. Just stop interfering with my stuff." And imagine what all these millions of dollars can do to your you know uh capabilities. You could save so many lives and types and stuff
Right.
like that. So the last issue, he contacted Black Mask and said, "I'll take the deal." So this is picking up from there. So we see Batman. He's sort of defeated. They met. They're having a meetup. He's having a meetup with Black Mask, basically saying that he's going to take the money. And Black Mask is like obviously very cautious of
Yeah,
Batman.
right.
So this is Alfred, who's kind of taking a back seat, keeping watch over Batman. He's only supposed to like report on him. He's not really supposed to interfere with what's going on. And so I enjoy Black Mask a lot. I think he's really a cool character, especially this iteration of him. Um, if you're keeping up with Invincible, he reminds me a lot of like the Robot Head, where he's like very charismatic and
Right.
he's just like, "'Cause I have money, so
Yeah.
of course I'm gonna do
Right.
stuff."
Right.
And throughout this issue or the beginning of the issues, I forgot to mention that like so far Batman hasn't, because he took the money, he's not taking any stop going so fast. Give me a
Oh,
second.
okay.
Because he hasn't taken any, like he's taken the money. He's not, beaten up on Black Mask's guys, and so this is the final meeting up with him. He's all like, "Cool. So what are you gonna use the money on? You're gonna buy planes and all the stuff that you would normally think of Batman having with all of his money that you have in the regular issues." And basically, Batman says, "No, I'll show you what I spent the money on." And you slowly see all the money building up. You can scroll down, and you'll see that it's arranged in the pattern of his chest, and you see that he lights it, and that's what makes the bat signal in the sky.
Ah, nice. That's pretty cool.
So
I
you
dig
have
that.
it's a really cool splash page with him with that you know uh flame in the sky. Yeah, there it is.
That's cool. I dig that.
So that's a really cool splash page. And so basically saying it to him, it's like, "Yeah, I'm not actually taking the deal." And so then Batman just goes ham on them and starts beating them all up. And this, like I said, Batman hurts them a lot. He still doesn't kill them, but
Just mortally wounds them.
But yeah, he's not like tickling them either. So, especially like that guy in the last page, and he's got like spikes going throughout his entire body. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's like
whoa. That's crazy.
There's some scenes there. It's like, I don't know. That seems kind of fatal to me.
Yeah,
but,
he probably bled out to death.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like it's literally, I don't think I showed it, but like the next panel after that, he's saying like, I'm stuck," while he's on the back of him. I don't think
gosh.
I showed it.
Of course.
But anyway, of course, Black Mask kind of saw this coming, and he's all like, "Okay, yeah, fire on him." And so they capture him, and he's basically saying like, "What do you think you did here? Did you achieve anything?" He's all like, "You think you inspire people?" It's like, no. You know what people want? People want money, and that's it. And Cash is going to expose the truth here. And then they go and light him on fire.
Hold on. Kryptonol says this version of Bats was too much of the Bat Bro UFC stupid ass Joe Rogan. Yes. Well, that's one way to look at it. That's one angle. Justin says, "LOL, he could have used it to help orphans, but this looks cooler." Dude,
Exactly.
That's true. That's a good point, actually. That's a very good point. He could have just given all that money to the orphanage in Gotham and still like attacked them.
That's true.
That's absolutely, dude, that's a good point. That would have been a lot more interesting actually if it did that. A lot better for his character.
But it's cool to have it burning in the background.
Yeah,
and
yeah, with
the
the splash
signal.
page because money sucks. Freddie says they're going to reveal that this Bruce Wayne's parents were killed in the crime alley, and Bruce was adopted as an infant. 3 dead parents is greater than 2.
Well, they actually gave the backstory. So his Martha Wayne is actually still alive. In this,
no, I think Freddie knows that. I think he's just joking.
Well, in case anybody else doesn't know, but yeah, that's another difference between this one and the other one. The main line.
Me too.
I like money.
Me too.
Yeah, it's like literally one of the lines. Like, go back. I think it's scroll down a little bit more. Actually, yeah, it says right there. The only hero of this story, Batman, is money. Right
there you go. Beautiful money.
Money is the money, and so yeah, Batman.
So they capture him and burn him, huh? Dang.
Yeah, they burn him and then they kick him off the roof of the building, and so he goes down and gets patched up. So they basically showing that like he's not the Hui, the strong man when he's like taking on a whole army. And then this is when you get the sort of the same dynamic with Alfred, where he's like coming to help patch up his wounds, kind of like the main universe Batman. But basically, in this version, he's just telling him that like you should have stopped, you should have just moved on, you shouldn't have done any of this. And it ends with basically, I didn't show the page, but it ends with a bunch of caches throughout the city that had black masks and guns in them. And basically, when you put on the mask, it gives you a list of things to do that you could earn money for. So if you go and rob a bank, you'll get this much wired into your account. If you go and vandalize this truck, you'll get this much wired into your account.
I didn't even put that together, Eric. He does look like Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. That is interesting.
Very interesting. I wonder if that's going to play a role in this absolute universe, because it is going to be different for sure.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's a great observation, Eric. I didn't even catch that.
Alfred's still MI6 CIA type.
Yeah.
MI6. He's not like he's League of Shadows type person, but he does say that he is working for a different organization than like MI6. Like he was MI6 and now he's working for another organization. So maybe it's the League of Shadows.
Could be
Assassins.
Could be, yeah.
So anyway, this is the final issue in this series where now chaos and anarchy reigns because everybody's getting all these masks and get wired money to their accounts. And this is Crocodile right here, and this is where there's another change to the storyline where Batman just reveals that he's Batman to all of his rogue gallery, which are his friends in this universe.
Yeah, this I think you showed me this page, or right, you showed me this page, and again the editor in me was like, he just gave, and I get it, they're his friends, I get that, but it's got a small panel for this. It could have been a bit more of a I don't know. I didn't like the fact that they used a small panel here for this reveal, that he gave away his biggest secret to his friend.
Yeah, so, I know. That's like, because you could have moved, like that. Sorry, it cut off, right there at the end.
No, that's fine. No worries.
It says, he's like, ow, what, why are you wearing, he's like, because he put his hand on his shoulder and he's still wearing the Batman costume that has the spikes. And like you said, I agree with you that last panel where he's revealing it should have been its own maybe splash page about it. Ray says, yeah, what was with the last issue? The God of Demon Draw. Yeah, that was it worked and it didn't work because it was a flashback story. It wasn't drawn by the artist that was doing all these ones.
Right.
It was a flashback story showing, I guess, this Batman's year one type of thing where he like first tried to start up, and it's his year one looking Batman was like actual, like it was like looks like the actual Batman's costume, like the one that we always know from like the beginning Batman Detective Comics type Batman. So that's how he looked, and then he moved on to looking like what he does now. And so continuing on for this is like what I was talking to you about with everybody getting the mask and saying,
Right,
oh yeah,
right, I
if you
see
get
it.
a robbery, you get 50,000. Artisan, you get 100,000. If you get, the murder, it's 250,000. And you get wait, stop.
Well,
Put back up.
Sorry, man. Sorry. Jeez.
I'm not in control of. Sorry, guys. I'm not in control of when he scrolls down stuff. So, basically, yeah, they find out that Jim Gordon and also Martha Wayne are worth like $1 million each.
Whoa.
Yeah. So well, at least Jim Gordon is. I don't know about Martha, but yeah, Jim Gordon's worth $1 million dead. So everybody's after them in the streets. And then you get a page, not after that, right after this one, but before the next page, where I'm going to show you where it's the Penguin and them are flying to the Black Mask's yacht, because they find out that the only way Black Mask is able to broadcast this stuff is if he has his own server. And then if you take out his own private server, then nobody will be getting paid for this stuff. And then that should theoretically make it so that, well, then nobody's going to do the crimes if they're not going to get paid for it. So they're going to go to his yacht, which they find is housing the private servers. And so then you get this splash page, which is a very homage to Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
Another homage. Yay.
But it's not a cover, though.
I know it's not a cover. I know. I'm just teasing.
And it's different. It's not the same pose.
Unhinged says here, why are they shocked he's even Batman? How many 6'9", 325 pounds all muscle dudes are in Gotham?
Well,
that's true. That's a good point. I mean, Croc is kind of the same size, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and they're friends, and they go to the same like workout, like gym and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe he's just thinking that it's a different gym bro that's there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's Batman.
Maybe.
And so then he lands on the boat, and this is where you get a famous.
Oh yes, the infamous kick.
Infamous drop kick of the baby kid. Which I have to say, it's pretty funny.
I was really. This is a child, though, right? This is like an actual child.
It's a child. It's Black Mask's child. And then it's funny that the mom or girlfriend or whoever it was just like, okay, I'm out. I'm just gonna jump off, and so he throws her a life vest. But I just thought that was funny. And so then you got the fight between him and Black Mask, which is really cool. There's a really cool shot that happens right here. I did like this, where it shows him actually like bursting through the panel into the other room of the deck of the
cool.
yacht.
Yeah.
I don't see that a lot in comic books very often. Is there a reason for that? Because that seems like it's a very easy thing to do.
I think it's because of lack of talent.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. I think because a lot of writers who are writing comics now, who are writing at the professional level of DC and Marvel, they come from a background of movies, they come from a background of novels, and sometimes journalists. So they don't have that background of reading comics growing up, like I do. The Kryptonals, does. Freddie Ness does. Unhinged. Everyone in the
Yeah.
chat, we came up reading comic books as children. So when we write stories, we're all about, let's try it out, let's try this, because the medium does allow for that. And Scott Snyder is, I think, starting to like either get it, or it could be Nick DeGrota. Maybe Nick DeGrota was the one who decided to do it that way. But I think that's why. I think that's the reason why you don't see that often, is because a lot of the writers today and artists today, because artists follow what the writers write to them in the scripts. So
Yeah.
they don't have much leeway to mess around like the artists and writers of old, of the 90s and 80s, because those writers grew up reading comics. So when they got at that level, they tried all sorts of things out. Frank Miller was a huge inspiration to a whole generation of writers and artists that messed around with the medium. So it's I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I just explain to you, so of course I do know.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
The whole thing.
That's the reason why. That's the reason why we don't see that often, is because you don't have the everyone plays it safe. Everyone wants the next Netflix pitches, so they do storyboard scripts as opposed to comic book scripts.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's why I'm saying it's like it's cool when you see stuff like that, and Batman here is just pounding on Black Mask.
Go on, keep talking. Boom.
And then
I dig this. This is cool when they integrating the SFX into the panel borders. That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah. And so then I didn't show it, but they keep on fighting, and this is the final, like,
money shot.
The money shot. Because he's got, if you see, there's like a string around Batman's neck.
I love this scream here. Great placement.
Yeah.
Love it.
Especially because when you're looking at it, like, can you zoom out so we can see the whole thing? Especially because, like, he's standing over Black Mask while he's choking him, and then he goes and flips his ears down and then just headbutts him into it. So you follow. I like that the scream is following the motion of his head going down. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And so then you've got him blowing up the server room, which means that the bounties on Gordon and Martha are went to zero.
Why did you say that name?
Yeah, Martha, why did you say that name? And so then that basically what happened was that, like, since it failed, then there are like the Black Masks, all these random people, they're all like, oh, I'm not gonna get paid for this. Well, okay then. Then it was just
they stop committing crimes. Is that what happened?
Yeah. And then Martha sucker punches the guy, and then Alfred retrieves him from the river and patches him up, just like and then we got the ending, and then we get the teaser for the next.
Oh yes, this was making the rounds online as well. These. Oh wow, I didn't even catch his leg, dude.
Yeah,
he's a skeleton.
Yeah,
I didn't even catch that in the post. Whoa.
So, like, I mean, you say it's Joker, which I think is probably Joker, but like, if it's like skeleton, maybe he's Scarecrow. But I wouldn't say that they'd make a splash page like this for Scarecrow.
No, I think that's Joker. I mean, his hairline, his face, it looks like Joker to me.
But like, wasn't the whole thing with Joker is in this version is that he doesn't smile?
Right. That's right. They did say that. Solomon Grundy could be.
Grundy, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know either. Crypto.
Yeah, it's like you can scroll down, like he's using the children to like revitalize himself.
Well, I mean, he's not smiling because he's. It looks like his face is just. There's no skin.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
it's creepy,
he's
man.
getting the, yeah, it's very creepy. You can see his skin starting to revitalize here.
Yeah, Harvey Dent. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that? Yeah, because Harvey wasn't meant. The only rogues villain that were mentioned that were like Batman's friends was Penguin, Croc, Riddler, and Riddler is different because it's Edward Nigma, and then he created a robot that's Riddler.
Right.
And then I think, and then there's a Catwoman,
That's
who's
right.
but so it's just those four of his rogues that he are his friends that know his identity. Everybody else is fair game. So like this character says get Bane, and we did get tease of what Bane looks like from the artist in one of the
Oh,
previews.
it wasn't in the
stuff.
issue?
It wasn't in this issue, no.
Oh, okay. So that was just something they just posted then.
Yeah, and so
Gotcha.
like I said, this wraps up this story arc, and the next issue is going to start with Mr. Freeze. So we know it's not Mr. Freeze, it's not Bane. So I mean, it could be Joker. We were already introduced to Joker though in a previous
Yeah, in the first issue. Right.
So like if we introduce to Joker first and then get introduced to Joker again, or is this like a different?
Well, then, now let me ask you this, Kyle, because this was a talking point as well.
Oh,
Do you like the design of Absolute Bane? Obviously, Kryptonals here doesn't. He's made it pretty clear here he's not a fan of the Absolute Bane.
I mean, to me, he looks kind of the same as just like Bane that I've seen. Like he's not like obviously he's got a lot smaller of a head than other ones, but I don't necessarily dislike the design of him.
Yeah, I think it's a good, again, it's Absolute Universe. It's different. It's supposed to be a little different. No, actually, not a little, a huge difference of what the regular DC universe presents. It's not bothering me because that's kind of, I mean, with Absolute Batman. Remember when the images of Absolute Batman came out, everyone was like, "He's too big. He's a bodybuilder. What the hell is this?" But then it grew on you. The more you looked at it, you're like, "Hey, you know what? It's not that bad, actually." And I feel like that's the same thing with Bane and the tiny head. Yeah, I get that, but it's a artistic choice. It's a creative choice, and it probably didn't land, but I don't mind it. But I want to read Eric's post here. Maybe that is a Lazarus pit, since whoever that seems to be getting resurrected. That's a good point. I didn't even think about
that. That is actually a good point. I didn't think about that either. So yeah, maybe that's Ra's al Ghul.
Maybe.
Absolute
Bane. You mean Peanut?
Peanut.
Justin says that it reminds him of Scarface and Ventriloquist. So,
okay,
that'd be interesting. Crypto says go back and read the original Venom issues in Legends of the Dark Knight, and that sets the stage for why Bane is Bane. But I mean, this is Absolute Universe. Kryptonals, it could be. I mean, the origin of Bane might be totally different than the original backstory of that character.
I feel like they're already doing different backstories for everybody, because like even in this issue, Gordon isn't police commissioner; he was running for mayor.
Pressing Color says it's Robert Downey Jr. You're right. He's not the commissioner. He's the mayor. So they changed that for sure.
Yeah. So everybody's got a different backstory. So I wouldn't assume that Bane would have a different backstory either. So we'll
Okay.
see.
So overall, from what you've read, is Absolute Batman worth issues 5 and 6? Are they worth the pickup, and are they worth continue reading going forward from this story?
So I'd say, so starting off with issue 5. Yes.
hold on, stop.
Oh, okay.
This comment is the right on the money. Maybe Bane ran into the voodoo guy from the end of Beetlejuice. That's
There
pretty
you
good.
go.
I like
I
that.
think that's it right there.
What's the odds of that being Metamorpho or Clayface? Clayface.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
There's so many options. It's like, or even so, because this could just be a brand new character.
Yeah. You're right.
It's a
You're right.
brand new character, which would be cool. I mean, like they did it with Hush. I mean, he's a new character that they just added. So, and this way, I think it works better with introducing a new character here, because like with Hush, like I never really like understood the reveal too much, because of like it's like, oh, I wonder who this mysterious new bad guy is. I don't know, friend of Batman's who we've never met before, that just showed up in this series. What do you think that the villain is? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's me. It's like I never understood the like Hush, like people being confused that that the guy was gonna be Hush to begin with.
Right.
This, at least when everybody has a different backstory and everybody can be kind of new, that's when you can do an interesting new character like this. And like, we literally don't know who he could be.
That's true. So, okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but your
Oh,
final
yeah,
thoughts, and is it worth the pickup?
So issue 5, yes, I think was definitely worth the pickup. I really do like the this artist's Nick, what was his name again?
DeGrota. Nick DeGrota.
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 I really do like his art, so I definitely think, yeah, the issue 5 is a lot of setup for, it does do the payoff from the previous issue, which I liked. But then I think issue 6, this one was really good. I had a lot of fun reading this issue. Like I said, there's still some things that were kind of wish we could have changed, like that the paneling of and the reveal and stuff of Batman saying to Croc, who he is.
Right.
But overall, I did enjoy this issue a lot, and as a whole, like I said, so both of these I'd say are worth the pickup. As a whole, Absolute Batman story-wise,
Yeah,
is definitely the strongest out of all of the Absolute Batman or Absolute Universe titles that are out there. And I do see it as something that could go a long way. I think that they have enough here that like it is familiar enough to the original stuff, like original mainline Batman,
right.
that people could kind of pick up on what's going on. But it is different enough where it's like you are really confused or interested and surprised of what happens next, because it, like I said, it's different enough where the people have different backstories and there's different dynamics between all these people. Like already having Batman be friends with like a bunch of the rogues already
Yeah.
automatically makes this a whole different universe. So, where in the mainline story, these villains and stuff, can't really die or really have much wiggle room. In this story, anything's on the table, the Penguin could die in the next issue or something like that. And it's like, oh, well, that's a big thing that happened. And so there's a lot of room and a lot of experimenting that they can go in this title, which I am actually looking forward to reading. So yeah, my consensus is overall it's definitely worth the pickup, and I do think, yeah, you should definitely start putting this in your pull box if you have a pull box and start reading it, because it is pretty cool. And I am excited to see where they take it with like Mr. Freeze.
That's right.
And
That's the next issue, isn't it?
yeah, it's the next issue. I don't know whether or not it's going to be an arc or they're going to just doing like single
Like,
issues with the villains or something like that. I hope that it's like arcs, but
yeah,
we're still like that's the reason why I liked this story a lot. There's the one issue that was the backstory that where he didn't draw it. That was the weakest.
that was the one that threw everyone off for sure.
Yeah,
It
I
was just
don't.
it just came out of nowhere, and maybe it could have been that Nick Dragata needed a break for whatever reason, and they
Yeah,
needed to find the filler, and it didn't sit right with a lot of the readers. They're kind of like, hey, what happened to the story? You kind of just disrupted it,
yeah.
disrupted the
It
flow of it.
it did, and I think that that was. I don't think that that was a good move for them because it really didn't add a whole lot to the story. We talked about it on the show, but you could have just left that issue out and nothing would have changed in the story. So it really didn't add anything.
Um, to answer Eric's question, I'm using PDF Converter. It's a program that I downloaded years ago. It's called PDF Converter Professional, and that's what I'm using to show the scans of the pages.
Again, you know, we spend a lot of money on this
Yeah.
show. So it's like
The highest possible quality.
yeah, spare no expense. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Batman, Absolute Batman 1 through 6 is worth the pickup. If you have not picked up this book, then pick up the next issue. I'm kind of half and half with Mr. Freeze's design. He looks like a cryptid to me.
See, that's what is interesting to me. Like I said, it's you can do different things now with this title.
Hold on, I'm not sure, Eric. You might have to look it up. PDF Converter Professional, that's the name of it. So if you want to look it up, I don't know if they have a phone app where you could use that. I'm not sure, but you could look it up. I'm pretty sure they do. I think they're still around. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I hate it. I just kind of feel like, it looks like a cryptid creature to me. But again, it's Scott Snyder. He may have an idea of what he's gonna do, and it may work. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, everybody, that's another thing, too, where it's like with Bane's look, he looks a lot like Bane. Like, at least, I know besides that, like, the tiny head and stuff like that, but he doesn't, like, generally look different than, like, other Banes previously. Versus, like, what you said, like, with Mr. Freeze, like, it's a completely different take of Mr. Freeze. Black Mask is similar, but he does have different look and like you know,
and he kind of mixed Mad Hatter with Black Mask a little bit.
So
Because
it's like
at first I thought it was Mad Hatter, in that
yeah.
first few issues because of the whole technology, the helmet, and I was like, oh, maybe it's Mad Hatter, but no, I was really surprised that it was Black Mask.
Well, and then you've got Riddler that's going to be like an AI robot type of thing that's made by the character. So you've got all these different like they're still the characters in essence, but they're very different from where they are. That's why I'm like Bane is still looks very similar to how he is in other mediums, besides like a tiny head, I guess.
Freddie says, I still think this Batman came into existence because the old Batman's copyright is coming up and the fans can make their Batman stories but can't touch this one. Absolutely. I think that's that's right on the money for sure.
Pun intended. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's probably why they called it Absolute, to copyright it and make sure it's theirs, so that way when the Batman character goes into public domain, everyone's gonna have a field day with that character, but you can't touch this character.
Yeah. Well, and as far as I understand with those copyright laws, you can only do the Batman from the 1940s.
Yeah, right. Not anything after, I don't know what year it is, but yeah, you're right.
So you can't use like the new 52 Batman, or you can't use like the whatever.
The Tim Burton Batman. Batman. Yeah, gotcha.
Or the Christopher Reeves, not Christopher Reeves. Robert Pattinson. I don't know why. I was looking at Superman statue I have. Robert Pattinson Batman. Can't touch that one either, or the Dark Knight ones.
So, Absolute Batman, worth the pickup.
Yes.
And that pretty much sums up that concludes the show. So thank you guys again for joining us tonight and having sharing the experience with Kyle and his WonderCon experience. He had a great
Yes.
time. I wish I could have gone, but I couldn't. Hopefully next year will be a better year for me to be able to go and attend as an actual vendor, not an attendee, which is the goal. Hopefully, God willing. So the next week we're hopefully going to have we are going to have a show next week. The topic is going to range from whatever news comes out, next week. We didn't get a chance to talk about Diamond, so hopefully we get to talk about that a little bit next week. And we are going to review Vatican City.
Yes.
Not next week, but the week after, because per Narwhal, who we know as Narwhal on Twitter, if you follow him on Twitter, he's going to be joining us live to review Vatican City with us. So he'll be here in the hot seat, and Kyle's gonna, tear down the book and ask him all sorts of questions, and he's gonna tell him to his face whether or not Vatican City is worth the pickup. So tune in for that show. I already got him confirmed to join us on that show. So he'll be not next week, but the week after. And I'm looking forward to Vatican City. I don't know if you guys are as well, but I'm really stoked about it. I'm curious to see how he's going to approach a Mark Millar script. It's going to be very interesting to see that and read that.
Yeah, Mark Millar is going to be he's writing it. I'm looking forward to it. I always really like Mark Millar's or Miller. I don't know how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah. I think it's Miller. I think it's confirmed as Miller.
It's Miller, but
yeah,
I know. But you have Frank Miller though, so it's like it's like kind of like the Hollywood thing. It's like it's a screen name, you can't use the same name.
Yeah.
Plus everybody's just been so used to calling him Millar.
Anyway, same here.
Anyway, whoever you want to pronounce it, I always like his work. I really do like Big Game and Wanted and all the other issues that he did. Like I'm blanking on a lot of them now. What's some of the other famous ones that he did?
He wrote The Authority.
Oh yeah, Authority. And
Civil War.
Civil War.
Old Man Logan. I mean, he's written a whole bunch of solid stuff over the years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool seeing appear be handpicked by Mark Millar. I mean, whatever. I'll call him Mark Millar until he corrects me. It's cool to see that, and good congratulations to Per for the pick, because now he's moving on up, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys again. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like, leave a comment after, tell people about this channel. It's we're gonna try to grow the channel. I know we've been saying that every week, but it's just we're gonna get there. You just gotta be patient with us. I also have live books on Global Comics. I have Vigilant Fury, Ghetto Dragon Book 1, the complete Book 1 storyline in Ashcan, preview of Book 2, as well as a extra Ghetto Dragon book called Ghetto Dragon Chronicles, and a preview of Acid 13, The Lasting Scheming. 5 books on my Global Comics, so check those out and read them and let me know what you guys think.
Also, subscribe to our Instagrams.
Don't end the stream. And you can follow us on X. You can follow Kyle on Instagram. You can also follow me on Instagram as well under Elucid PRD. And we'll see you on the next one. Kyle, any last words before we end it?
Always, as always, I always say you need to build those experiences. And
I know, I'm so bad.
Yeah. Again, we spend a lot of money on this show. So,
next week, I'll be better, guys. Promise.
Yeah, well, the loan's finally gonna come in. And
go ahead, Kyle. Finish your last thought.
Anyway, just remember to read more comics.
All right, guys. You guys have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
It was an ordinary night during an ordinary jog when Matt Guerra stepped into his destiny. Using his Jeet Kune Do, Matt teaches would-be violators that the cost of crime is too high for them to afford. But little does Matt know, his act of bravery has run afoul of Los Valientes, Orange County's most notorious street gang. The head of Los Valientes, the mysterious Dreamer, decides to make an example out of Matt. And amidst a brutal game of tit-for-tat, where anyone could get caught in the crossfire, Matt Guerra must bring an end to Los Valientes' wave of crime before his loved ones pay the ultimate price for his heroism. Matt Guerra is the Ghetto Dragon.